All right, 1 second here. All right, welcome everyone to this Q&A. Again, welcome everyone to this Q&A. Saw something earlier, think it's a good topic. We'll see where it goes. But we always say that, a person has to see how God runs the world. And the fact that God's in charge. Now, there are many things we don't understand, we don't fathom, but he's there behind the scenes. Right? You're gonna say, but this look really bad, or this look really hard, or whatever. So we don't have answers. We don't have the answers why this didn't work this way, or why that didn't work, another way, or why a person got injured, or why they got a toothache, or whatever the hardship is, whatever the hardship may be. End of the day, he's in charge. Right? We mentioned this many times. The mantra is he's in charge. So some people would say, and I would disagree with this, but some people would say it's hard to fathom. It's hard to see. Right? Impossible to see. Because again, you look at the cup, whether it's half full or half empty. Right? We can always be pessimistic. This is bad, that's bad, the other thing's bad. Nothing is ever good. Could be. Could be. Had a conversation with someone, whatever, early in the week. And you could say something. You're not going to get fazed by it. You think God did that. You have any other rational explanation? Something comes out of the blue you didn't expect. No matter what it is. That you did not expect in 150 million years. Things do not happen by chance. Now that's the world we live in. We live in a world of Amalek. That's what Amalek brought to the world. This idea, stuff happens by chance. There's no such thing as supernatural. And that killed him, right? That killed Haman. The book of Esther, right? He's pinned down by angels. God opens his eyes, you see angels pin him down on Esther's couch or her bed or whatever. Achashverosh said, "You scoundrel, you're going to take my wife right in front of my face." What's he going to say? They're angels pinning me down. I can't move. But even at that point, Achashverosh doesn't want to kill him. Achashverosh doesn't want to kill him until someone points out there are gallows that he had for Mordecai. At that point, Achashverosh feared for his life, and then he had him killed. But he got killed by his own motto. And his own motto is, there's no supernatural. Right? Just learned at the beginning of Duties of the Heart, the group of people, and one of the things at the beginning, which very few people learn, Shari Yichud, talking about basically proof and existence of God, is that if you see a table, you see anything, right, that comes from, there are four major elements of the world. You got wind, fire, water, and dust, and earth. I got four elements. Yeah. Those four elements, says Chosavamos over there, chapter 7, right at the beginning, and first gates in chapter 7. And he says that those are primal. That means they didn't come existence by themselves. They didn't create themselves, let's say better. They did not create themselves. they're primal things. So it says the Chovos HaLevavos, if they're primal, somebody must have created them. Yeah. So he says if you see a table, a chair, or something, right, somebody must have made it. Right? And the biggest atheist will have to say somebody made it. There's order. So the Chovos HaLevavos says, if you see finite things made out of the four elements, whatever it may be, finite things that have a designer, that clear somebody made it. When you talk about celestial beings, i.e. the earth, the sun, how can it be everything happened by chance? Impossible. So he uses a parable. What's the parable? The parable is an ink dropper. I don't know if people still have ink droppers today, right? You have an ink dropper. What does an ink dropper do? You take ink, right? You take ink, you put it on a piece of paper, right? You put it on a piece of paper. Now, by putting it on a piece of paper, what comes out? Drops, right? So Chovos HaLevavos asks, you think it's possible you dropped ink from an ink dropper on a piece of paper? It made a picture? You really think it made a picture? He's like, you gotta be an idiot, not my language. You gotta be a fool to think such a thing. And everyone would think that person's an idiot. I dropped an ink thing, what are you talking about? It made a thing though. If anyone ever grew up with a spirograph, anyone remember what a spirograph is, right? You got these plastic things, you got a pen, you make all these designs on it. Okay, that I could hear. Because you got to design. And if I dropped ink on it, whatever, it would show that design. Very good. But that's a design. It's not just ink falling on a piece of paper. So the Chovos HaLevavos says, if there's design by anything else, by a table, a chair, whatever it is, and that shows someone created it, you want to tell me the world came by accident? And David didn't want to say it was a big bang. And you had all these amino acids and everything else in the world, and that threw everything into action. That's okay. Right? It's not necessarily a contradiction here. Not necessarily a contradiction, but the bottom line is there's order. There's order in nature. There's order in the human body. Right? There are a lot of things that show there must be a creator. Must be a creator. Now you tell me you're agnostic. Okay, I have a doubt if there's a creator. But to say that you're born bred atheist, don't believe in anything. Like everything happens by chance. Yeah, no coincidences, no nothing. Everything is random. The human body's random. Photosynthesis, how everything works, is random. I mean, that's what evolution's all about. Right? Have all these mutations and all this and to change this into that into the other thing. Everything's random. But again, let's use the drop of ink. When a drop of ink falls on a piece of paper, right? What does it do? Nothing. Makes a few splotches. No one in their right mind is going to think, right? Is going to think that it's going to make a whole picture. Right? So bottom line, people will say, come on, divine providence. They're a coincidence. 37 Scud missiles hit nothing during the Gulf War. Nothing. That's a coincidence. 1 in like 10 billion chance. They won't hit anything. But people have cognitive dissonance. Because if you say God did it, and then supernaturally, you got other obligations. Much greater obligations. But see, that's the thing. Two people can see the same thing. One person's looking how you figure it out. The other person is, what are you talking about? This is clear as day. Right? So I always get this question. How can two people see different things? They see the same thing and come out with different conclusions. Because that's the evil inclination. The evil inclination can convince you of anything. Can even convince you, put all these crazy ideas out there. Right? Can convince a person they're not the same sex they should have been. They got chipped. They should have been. If it was a male, it should have been a female, vice versa. They're put in the wrong body. Yeah, that's insane. It used to be, could have been. You had people, you didn't know what exactly their sex was. Sometimes the organs were hidden internally, right? But you didn't know 100%. Today it's not even an issue. Not even an issue. Psychologically, a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure. Probably going to have to think who they really are. Like the Sybil complex, me, myself, and around 25 of us. Yeah, split personalities. So what's the whole point? So the Kotzker Rebbe, blessed memory, someone asked him, one of the Hasidim asked him, where's God? How do you see God in this world? So he answered, wherever you let him in. Wherever you let him in, you can see. If you don't want to see, you won't see. As we always say, the Gemara says, you want to go on the right path, God will help you. You want to go on the wrong path, God will not stop you. But, I was telling someone, they probably thought I was nuts. But come on, you don't see divine providence here? Totally out of the blue. Not expected. So where'd it come from? Coincidence. Very nice. We don't believe in coincidence. See, this is the heresy. This is the heresy that Amalek brought to the world. So the week before Purim on Shabbos, we read Parshas Zachor. Parshas Zachor. Let's see if I have it here. We'll just read what it says. Then the Parshas Kiteitzei, Deuteronomy. Let's see. Deuteronomy chapter 25. Chapter 25, verse 17. Remember what Amalek did to you on the way. Sorry, verse 17, right? Again, book of Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 17. Remember what Amalek did to you on the way when you were leaving Egypt. He happened upon you on the way, right? That's the word mikra. Right? Asher korcha b'derech. The word korcha means he happened upon you. Right? Mikra, like something that happened by chance. And then he struck those of you that were hindmost, all the weaklings, right? He didn't fight fair. Fought against all the weaklings. Right? When you were faint, when you were exhausted, right? And all that. So at the end, verse 19, it says you shall wipe out the memory of Amalek. You shall not forget. Now, very interesting. We don't know who Amalek is today. Some will say the Germans, Yamach Shemam Zikrom, during World War II, they were Amalek. Okay. Some people say Hamas also Amalek. Even if they're Muslim, doesn't matter. It can also be part of Amalek, right? In different ways. We're going to say, but how are we supposed to wipe them out? Now, if we knew who they are, technically, we could kill them. There's an obligation to kill them. Right? Definitely an obligation to kill them. At the end of the day, can't do that. But how are we supposed to do it? Supposed to blot out their memory. What's blotting out their memory mean? Doesn't mean forget. Blotting out their memory means I go in a path not like them. That God is in charge. That God runs the world. That's the path we go. That, the more light of Torah you bring out, pushes away a lot of darkness. But essentially, there will be people, a lot of people will probably claim they're atheism. Yeah. I mean, some will say, many may say, yeah, we believe in God, but, I don't think that really means that much. So that's the world we live in. See, people make the mistake and say, oh, all these ancient stories and, the whole story with the Greeks and Hanukkah is like, they're not the Greeks anymore. I mean, Greeks are in big trouble today in Greece. All the problems they have there. But what do we have left from the Greeks? Yeah, a little bit of architecture, but we live in their world. We live in their world. Education, aqueducts, roads, architecture, there are a lot of things about what the Greeks brought to the world. That's the world we live in. You're going to tell me the Greeks don't exist anymore, right? They're the same power they ever had. They disappeared, right? You never start up with the Jewish people. You start up with the Jewish people, you'll disappear. And, how long were they around for? 70 years, 100 years. They disappeared. Eventually, they disappeared. But their ideas lived on. That's the world we live in. So people don't make the connection. People think, oh, these ancient stories, they're not relevant to my life. This is totally relevant. Because you lost tens of thousands of millions of Jews to this, to assimilation. And the beginning of the 19th century, how many people do we lose? To socialism, communism, all these isms, democracy. Thousands. Millions. Yeah, doing it to ourselves. No one putting a gun to your head. Right? But so those things, they take God right out of the picture. Say, Kol chotzim v'yadi, do it with the power of my hand. Whatever I feel like doing. So the idea over here is that a person, again, I don't think it's this hard. If a person's living a godly life, if they're going in the right path, they'll see things all the time. Doesn't have to be major things, could be major things. Could even be minor things. But they see the hand of God in so many things. But if you don't believe, you're not part of that psyche, so to speak, you'll never see it. Right? You'll say, okay, interesting coincidence. But you won't give credit where it's due. Why not? Why would a person not do it? What's the answer? Taiva. Desire. That is what will destroy a person with the evil inclination. Because if I look into it and I find out it's true, I got to change. Got to be intellectually honest. Like one person told me, 25 years ago, 30 years ago. If I look into Judaism and I find out it's true, and I have to change my life, I'm not willing to do it. They were honest. Okay, they don't have to lose if Judaism is true. They're intermarried, still intermarried. Right? That's the only intellectually honest person I ever met. Everyone else, a bunch of fakers, bunch of jokers. They'll say philosophically this and that. I don't really believe it. It doesn't matter. If you want to look, it's not too hard to find. Not too hard to find. Now, based on that, people say, yeah, but this was hard, that was hard. This was reading something earlier by Rabbi Biederman. Should be well. Last week's parsha was saying that there are things that we expected to happen, or even if we didn't expect. Yeah. And other things happen to our detriment, look like our detriment. So he says, what's the reason? Because God didn't want you to have it this way. He didn't want you to go down that path. Right? He saved you from other things that you may never have saw. Okay? Very good. Right? Very good. But at the end of the day, he's telling you that it's to your benefit. Now, do we always see it to our benefit? I don't think so. At least not at the beginning. So, or sometimes we do. But it's it's impossible. I'm not going to say very hard. It's impossible to figure out what God wants. And how he meets out measure for measure. And why he decides to do things now and not before, and we don't know. We go down a certain path, takes us to another path, takes us here, takes us there, places we never necessarily wanted to be, or expected to be, or maybe we thought we should have been there, I don't know. And you think about it, you're like, what happened over here? Why did it go this way, not that way? Sometimes God will throw you a proverbial bone. He'll open your eyes, and you'll see that wasn't good for you. This wasn't good for you. I'll give an example. Imagine, someone wants to marry someone, they're in love or think they're in love, whatever, and they get jilted. The other person doesn't want. Or they were dating and it didn't go, whatever. Whatever it was, the person's broken. Heartbroken. But maybe one day in the future, they meet someone, they marry somebody, and they see if they would have married the other person and how the other person turned out, it would have been good. But you're going to say, what about the pain? What about the pain they went through? So they had to go through it. That's part of the process. Remember, the Mishnah Pirkei Avos says, right? It says in Ethics for Our Fathers, you're born against your will, you die against your will. You don't have a choice to come into this world. You don't have a choice when you leave this world. But Kaufman would say, in parentheses, you still have to live. You still have to navigate. And let me tell you, for a lot of other people say this as well, God has a sense of humor. He's got a sense of humor. You're like, really? And something just happened to me recently. Yeah, and I'm like, okay. You want to put something in my platter? Solve a major issue? Okay. And that's what happened. Now I was looking at this, looking at that, other thing. Okay, let's see where it's going to go. Did I expect this? No. Not in a million years. I wouldn't have expected something like that. Wouldn't even thought about it, per se. Maybe it would have been on my horizon a little bit. Would have thought about it. Okay. I know, different possibilities. What might go, what might not go. And what do? He said, you know what? Forget about that. I'm going to take away the money problem. I'm going to take care of this other problem. And boom. I'll take care of the whole issue. One shot. You don't have to do anything. No mess, no building. Take care of the whole thing. One shot. Let me ask you. What are the odds? I love playing the odds. Yeah. I love statistics. What are the odds? The odds are slim. If not zero. Slim. The odds are off the charts. You want to say you're going to get a whole package deal? Going to solve this major problem, solve other things in one shot. I'll sign up for that. Yeah. Wasn't expected by any stretch. So say, okay, well, you're not going to take it? You'll take it. In a major way, and you say thank you. Say more than thank you. Solves a major problem. Don't get better than that. Now, would I have liked to have certain information weeks ago? Maybe. Doesn't always work out. There's a Yiddish expression, we plan, God laughs. We make all these plans, this, that. Some pan out, some don't pan out, probably a lot don't pan out. That's okay plan. And one thing that Rabbi Peterman was saying is that no matter what you do, if God doesn't want it, it ain't happening. Right? Exactly what happened in Egypt with all the plagues and whatever. Moses says this is what God's going to do. He tells Pharaoh and God does it. And everything else. You can't go against what he says. You want to try and fight against them and this and that. If God bucks you, you're in trouble. I mean, you're more than trouble. Nothing you can do. That's a livelihood. Livelihood is always a good topic. Yeah. You tried this, you tried that, you tried the other thing. Business isn't going. So the Chosed Levavos says in Sharpie Tachum, right, in the gate of faith and belief, he says, keep at it. Keep at what you're good at. Put your best foot forward. As we always say, is that a guarantee for success? No. It's not a guarantee for success. If God wants to open the door will be open. If he wants to squeeze you like the bottom of the toothpaste, that'll happen also. Right? In other words, he's the big X factor. He's the big X factor. So our mantra on a daily basis is you are the one in charge. You're the one in charge. No matter what happens. You want me to work harder? I'll work harder. I'm going to plug away. I'm going to do what I need to do. You're going to take care of the rest. Now, how it gets taken care of, whatever. You can say, I've been in a rut for 6 months, been 8 months, been longer, this, that. Okay. It's not going to happen overnight. No one's going to get a guarantee, person says the magic formula is going to happen overnight. God can say, I want better prayer. I want you to work harder. I want you to strive, whatever. But you don't know. You don't know when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. So why I say God has a sense of humor? Because here you're worried about, we worry too much. The reality is we worry too much. Let's say a person's got a bill to pay, got an electric bill, 2 days, going to cut off your electricity. You have no idea where the money's coming from. Okay, so you got to work it out. Somebody got to work it out. Even if it's not pretty and, you take care of it, okay. But at the end of the day, even if it's not pretty, usually things get taken care of, usually. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it could be where you never thought, where you never expected. Right? That's why I think, God has a sense of humor. Got certain things I would never imagine. I said, okay, you want to make it happen this way? Okay. But it's, but the thing is, the thing is that you'll tell that to other people. Right? Like someone there mentioned. Tell that to other people. They're going to listen? Probably not. They'll say, okay, very interesting. What does that have to do with God? You got lucky. Someone was selling this exactly the time you needed it. I don't think that's luck. Yeah, you're going to say it's a very interesting coincidence, I've heard people say. Very interesting coincidence. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we're not Amaleki. We don't believe in coincidence. Coincidence is not a Jewish concept. Not a Jewish concept at all. So, it's not always easy to see. Not always easy to see. But you know what? At the end of the day, you don't have to look that far. You might not have expected it. You might not have planned it. And you say, okay, had something, whatever, a while ago, a few weeks ago, a month ago. Something happened. I looked up to heaven. I said, okay, that's the way you want it. My mantra after that and before that is, you're the one in charge here. I'm not in charge. I'm putting my best foot forward. I'm doing what I can. Trying to be the best I can be. Okay. You want to squeeze me that way? You squeeze me that way. But you make it happen somehow. It'll happen. Not the way you expected. Sometimes it comes out as expected. Sometimes. Yeah. A lot of times, a person makes a deal, business deal. Yeah. How's it come about? This one knows this one, that one knows the other one. You make different connections. That's not all by chance. You don't meet someone by accident. Now, question is, you meet them, what's going to happen later in life, how the paths cross, don't know. Right? I don't have an answer for that. But there's no such thing you met someone for nothing. Usually. Very hard to say. Yeah. Because when we meet somebody, I have no idea where that connection is going to go. I'm not saying you're going to have a business connection, other connection. You have no idea. You have no idea what's going to happen one way or the other. But see, Jewish people are so small, in general. It's like we can play Jewish geography. This one knows that one, and this state, and that country, and this and that. I'll give you an example. When I came back to Israel. So my next door neighbor, when I was living in New Jersey, as a brother-in-law, lives in my neighborhood. So we first came back. We went to him for Shabbos. Right, we came very close. So you can say, "Wow, that's interesting. That's a coincidence." Yeah, it's a coincidence. Like my next door neighbor, as a brother-in-law, lives in the same neighborhood. In Israel, a lot of neighborhoods, a lot of cities where people could live. So that's uncanny. Again, people will say, well, that's a coincidence. Yeah, it is. But how many times are you going to say that? You can say that like 100 times. After you say it like 100 times, wow, that, you got lucky. How many times are you going to say that? You probably say it a lot. You know why? Because you don't admit the truth. You'll say there's suffering, there's pain. Yeah, it's all part of the picture. Whatever a person has to go through, it's all part of the picture. We don't ask for it, we don't sign up for it. But it's all part of the picture because we don't grow otherwise. Right? We'll never grow if you don't have challenges. If you never had challenges, that's the whole point of life. Yeah. So everyone wants something to happen. Something to happen, I said, and whatever, it wasn't something easy by any stretch. I stood up, I looked at heaven, I said, I want to thank you for this challenge. I want to thank you for this opportunity. And I'm thinking, back of my mind, what are you, crazy? That's what you put me through. I didn't think that, but I'm saying, thank them for giving the opportunity. Now, it could be a good stress release. But see, when you leave everything up to him, you have no worries. You still have to put your best foot forward, no question. Right? So we don't believe in coincidence. The more we say it, the more we live it, the more we breathe it, takes Amalek out of the picture. That brings light into the world. And that's our obligation. Right? A little bit of Torah, a little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness. Because, hey, even what we do, look at the rest of the world. True. 100%. Same time, at the same time, no matter. We're going to put our best foot forward. We're going to do what we need to do. We can't worry about other people. Yeah, it's the mitzvah to draw Jews closer to Torah. True. The big mitzvah to go out there and save as many Jews as we can. Yeah. You're not going to save everybody. My pessimistic side coming out here. Yeah, you save whoever you can save. But at the end of the day, you got to want it. You got to live it. You got to breathe it, says King Solomon in Proverbs. You got to want it more than anything else. More than gold, more than silver, more than diamonds. God gave the Torah to Moshe Rabbeinu as a matana, as a gift. Right? Why did he give it to him as a gift? How did he give it to him as a gift? Moshe Rabbeinu, came the closest to being the most perfect being in this world. Right? Almost, reached the highest level of understanding. He was busy one level of understanding. Yeah. But even so, the Torah is so vast. The Torah is so wide. Even someone as great as Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't hold it all together. Even as great as he was, God had to give it to him as a gift. He had to implant it in his soul. How's someone going to keep that amount of information inside and give it over to others with clarity? Right? Because that's the whole question. There were 40 years in the desert. Now, there's 613 commandments. If there are 613 commandments, and let's say there are 3 million people. So let's say you pick 1,000 people to teach 613 commandments. How long can that take? 10 years? 5 years? To teach it to them so they really know it like verbatim. I don't think it's going to take 40 years. Once you get the stupidest people, you have to keep teaching them over and over and over. But if you got enough teachers, that shouldn't be a problem. What was he doing for 40 years? What was he teaching them? That's why it's brought down that were 2 Torahs given to Mount Sinai. One of them was the written law, and the other was oral law. The explanation of what the Torah means. You need both. Torah begs for explanation. For 40 years, he's teaching the masses, right? But it's a lot of information. Unbelievable amount of information. So even as great as he was, God had to give it to him as a gift. Couldn't hold it all within, right? So at the end of the day, we have to understand we're a work in progress. We have ups, we have downs, we're thrown, all kinds of different directions. But at the end of the day, as life is a big challenge, We have to realize. We have to realize that there's order. We just don't see it. We just see it's a really upside down world. We don't have the clarity to see. See, if we were a pure soul, then it would be easier if we weren't in a physical body. Yeah, pure soul doesn't have an evil inclination. So we see things on a much higher level, on a much clearer level. Right? When anyone dies, great people die, they listen, go to the Kisei HaKavod, go to God's heavenly throne, and beg to take us out of this, take us out of Golos, take us out of exile, and all that. And usually, like this great rabbi, whoever it is, comes back to them in a dream and says, "You don't understand what's going on upstairs. It's an upside down world. You don't understand. Everything's for the best. You just don't see it, and you can't see it in this world. It's pretty much impossible to see. Yeah, but what can we see? Not just about a leap of faith over here. What can we see? What do we have the ability to see? Just like the Kotzker Rebbe said, you want to see God, you got to bring him into your heart. You got to love him. You got to serve him. And it doesn't matter what happens. You got to serve him to the best of your ability. Don't we fail? Sure. Don't we make mistakes? Yeah. Don't we make similar mistakes over and over again? Yeah. I just heard someone say, people think, "Oh, I'm a bad Jew. And God's going to hate me and this and that." There's no such thing as a bad Jew. Meaning, we're all work in progress. We all do things we shouldn't do. Right? Different levels. But at the end of the day, there's repentance. We can work hard. We can strive. Doesn't mean you're bad. We can take it to heart and say, "Oh, but every time I transgress, right, I'm spitting in God's face and the repercussions will be catastrophic." You're right. That's also true. We got to take what we do seriously. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make us bad. That's what the evil inclination wants. The evil inclination wants to beat us down to no end. To no end. And say, "You're no good. You'll never be accepted. No one will ever take care of you. No one will help you. You don't deserve to be helped." That's what the evil inclination will do. Doesn't matter if it's being reinforced by other people. Evil inclination can do that also. Bring other people around and say, "Hey, you did this, you did that. You're not worth anything," whatever. Yeah, it can destroy someone's self-confidence. 100%. It destroys someone's self-esteem. But at the end of the day, no one's really that bad. I mean, there are bad people out there, true. I'm saying for us that we want to grow, the evil inclination will destroy us. Especially if you're a perfectionist. How could I make that mistake? How could I said that, spoke that lashon hara? How could I? Okay, we're not perfect. We got to work at it. We want to minimize mistakes. But see, when a person has a high awareness, the stakes are very different. Now you know better. Now you're held to a different standard. Okay. Right? But that's better. That's certainly better. But you got to work hard. Working hard does not mean you're bad if you make mistakes. I'm not whitewashing saying, "Oh, you don't deserve to be punished. And it could be severe punishment, different things." I'm not saying that. It could be. I'm not whitewashing it. But at the same time, I think we put a lot of extra pressure on ourselves, because we want to serve God to the best of our ability. We fail. We fail in many ways. But we have to be able to see that whatever goes on in life, there's divine providence behind it. Now, we may never understand it. We may never understand it at all. But that's okay. We're not expected to understand. If we keep doing the same thing over and over again, okay, you got to get to the root of it, why a person's doing it. But at the end of the day, we're not here to understand what's going on. We have to react to it. We have to be the best we can be. There are going to be trials. We're going to fail these trials. Some of them. And we're being tested. But, You don't need the greatest eye to be able to see. Some things I think are blatant and obvious. I think anybody could see it. Question is, do you want to see it? That's the question. Right? And most people do not want to see it. They'll make any number of excuses why. And they'll be justified in their own mind. But today, you don't have any philosophers today, people thinking about this. People want to do what they want to do, as we always say. They're doing things by desire. That's what they want. And they want to be left alone. It's true, it's not true. Nobody cares. It's not an issue today. You have some people out there searching for the truth. They want to know the truth. I get it. Most people, ketchup or mustard or relish on my hot dog. Where people are holding. So in this world, this finite world, that we live in, first we got to realize we're not here that long. So who we hang out with, could have negative influence on us. Severely negative influence. I think I mentioned last week, like someone said, you only hang out with people who think like yourself. So do you. Everybody does. Right? But for a Jew, or at least a JID, a Jew in training, you want to be around people that think like you do. Makes life a lot easier. You might have contact with other people you don't want to have contact with. Okay, you might not have a choice. Yeah, but when you're around people that think like you, it's different. And they're going the same way. They have the same values. That's why we live in our own communities. Exactly why. But, as we said before, you got to be able to see. Not everything's clear cut by any stretch. Yeah, but I think there are things that they're so blatantly obvious, people don't want to see it. Like someone will say, this thing happened to you, so you think it's God. Something happens out of the blue you don't expect. You didn't plan for. You didn't even have a connection. You didn't even know the person had such a thing. You wouldn't even thought to have such a person. If you would have asked me, this person would have had what I needed. This person I knew, I don't know so well, but, this person I knew, I would have gone to ask him to see if he had something like that. Never. Not a million years. Not in 10 million years. Yeah, it's a joke. If I would have thought of 250 people that might have had such a thing, maybe, or could have helped me, it would have been number 10,220. Not even on the list. Not even on the list. So someone can say, I see it differently. Okay. Right? Yeah, an interesting coincidence. You got to have the eyes to see. Right? That's why someone said, I interviewed them about becoming religious. Said, that's not the question. Question is, why did my siblings not see the same thing I did? Because two people can see the same thing and interpret it in different ways. Let me see their questions here. 1 second. Someone said looking to learn from the many genealogies. Genealogy is important. Yeah. In general. Right? In general, it's important. Right? You look at the Torah itself, people make the mistake. You look at the book of Genesis, we just finished. People say, it's a history book. More than a history book. It's more than a history book of where the Jewish people came from. It's a book about who they were, what they did, the values were. Yeah. Now, how careful they were. When people take them to task for doing certain things. It has to be understood. It sure has to be understood. But at the end of the day, the main players, there's a lot spoken about them. You go through generations between Noah and Abraham. Not too many significant people in between. Some, but not too many. Yeah, same thing from Adam to Noah. After you get from Noah to Abraham, now you get to Abraham. Now you got all these stories. What happened to Abraham? What happened to Isaac? What happened to Jacob? The entire Jewish people. That's significant. That is significant. So it's not just about history. What's it about? It's about who they were, what they became, how they formed the Jewish people. So now, someone asks, Chronicles, you got all this, genealogy. I will mention in Tanakh as well, there are contradictions between, the genealogy in Chronicles and genealogy over there. It has to be explained why there's a contradiction. Right? You have to see why there's a contradiction, or seemingly why there is a contradiction. But we always have to remember that genealogy is significant even of itself. Even of itself. You'll say, how can that be? Right? How is that possible? How in the world is that possible? Because significant, who's who? In the bigger scheme of things. I would say probably, an important idea is what we mentioned before. The genealogy there is not the same as in other places. And the numbers and how long they reigned and different things are not always the same. Number of times they're not the same. You look at the Book of Kings, for example. Rashi, others go to town on that. But in Chronicles, it's like this. They only reigned for 2 years, not 5 years. So where's the other 3 years? Right? How do you work out the contradiction? Yeah, it's not just about genealogy. Yeah, it's not just about genealogy. Someone asked, what's the meaning between comparison between Moshe and Abraham? And now the forefathers when Moshe questioned Hashem. Yeah, so the beginning of this week's parsha says, I spoke to I'm speaking to you in a name, or I spoke, what's the exact, let me see the exact quote here. Parshas Va'era. It says, God spoke to Moses, said to him, I am Hashem, I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as El Shaka. But my name Hashem, I do not make but with my name Hashem, I do not make myself known to them. So you have different relationship. Different relationship. But the comparison is, if you see what's going on, what does Moses do? Moses does not want to go to Egypt and try and save the Jewish people. Says, I don't have any merit. I speak funny. I have a lisp. Right? They're never going to believe me. And all that. He goes through all these things, through humility, essentially, saying he's not worthy to go. God tells him you got to go anyway. God says you do the stick trick, right? You throw the stick down, it'll be a snake. You grab it, it'll become a stick. You do other things, they'll believe you. So the different reasons why Moses is saying this, because according to nature, the Jewish people will never get out. Right? According to nature, never should happen. So God takes the Jewish people through all the miracles against nature. He turns over nature. For that reason, one possible reason. But the point over here is that Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov do not question over here. Anything God tells them to do, they have no questions. They're not asking, why am I doing this? Why doing that? This isn't fair. Why should... They didn't question him. Moses questioned him. Now, you could say, for the sake of heaven, he questioned him. Yeah. Certainly for the sake of heaven. Because if we just explained that the Jewish people never get out, why is he sending him? It's a waste of time. They're going to suffer there. I can't do anything. Right? They're never going to come out. So God tells them, above nature, I'll take them out. You're right. According to nature, they'll never come out. But the point is, he questioned him. He questioned what God was doing. So he says, I'm dealing with you in a different way than I dealt with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Why? Because they didn't question me. I used a different name when I spoke to them. You're using a different name. You're not, on their level. I almost reached the highest level of understanding. True. And the Torah came through him and not through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. True. You could ask that question. Why not? They could have got the Torah through them, maybe. But at the end of the day, he questioned God, and Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did not. So the comparison is they didn't do it. They didn't question me. And I spoke to them in this name. This is the name I use. But for you, I'm using a different name because you questioned me. Now, were they legitimate questions? You can say they're legitimate questions. Think Moshe Rabbeinu is going to ask a question not legitimate? Legitimate. Yeah. So if it's legitimate, even if it's legitimate, God's telling him they never asked me these questions. Seemingly, they're on a higher level, in different ways. They didn't ask me this. They didn't question me. You see by Abraham. God gives him the last test. Sacrificing Isaac went against everything he knew. Every last thing he knew that God had told him. Did not question at all. He went, he did it. And he wanted to draw blood. God says no. Perfect, sacrifice here. That's it. You're not going to do it. You kill the ram and that's it. Went against everything he knew. But he didn't complain. He didn't say anything. He went about his business. He did exactly what God told him to do. And Isaac did exactly what God told him to do. No question. Perfect faith. And Jacob, same thing. Yeah, even though he went through a tremendous amount of trials. Moses asking him, what about this? What about that? They won't listen to me. I speak funny. Pharaoh's not going to listen to me. They'll never get out anyway. Why are you questioning me? Why are you questioning God? What's God saying? Why are you questioning me? I told you to do something. Just do it. Don't give me any answers. Don't give me any lip. He's doing it for the sake of heaven. I understand. But God's saying, look at Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Look at them. They didn't have me any questions. Your faith was pure. But he has any questions. That's a comparison. That's a comparison. Somebody asks, one second. What's the meaning? Yeah. Don't in some ways, we question Hashem when we question our own path. We're not questioning him. Question is maybe what the end result is. If I'm going in a certain path, what are the repercussions? What are potentially the repercussions? I'm not questioning him, per se. I wouldn't say it's it's questioning him. A person could say, I think it's wrong, and I hear this all the time, and that is, why do I have to go through this, or why do I have to go through that? Why do I have to go through my own path? You look at Abraham. Abraham goes through all these challenges. God saves one of the best for last, 100 years old, tells him circumcision, right? You got to do circumcision. It's like, Abe, what do you think of my covenant? His wife got taken. There was a famine, right? He has to go fight the 5 major world powers, save Lot. He got to do circumcision. He's got to sacrifice his son. He's like, wow, what a covenant. Where do I sign up? Beautiful. Life's a test. Life is a huge test. Questioning God why he does things, I'll tell you, I think it's a lack of emunah. There are a lot of things we don't understand. I get this all the time. People will say, I want to know the measure for measure. You'll never figure it out. Usually. You'll never figure it out. And if a person suffers in a certain way, that could be something that happened 2 years ago. It could happen 6 months ago. You'll never figure it out. It's usually never direct. It won't be direct. Right? If it was direct, you'd lose free will. So it'll never be direct. Right? But, I get it. People want to know. People want to know why. Why is it like this? Why is it like that? We don't know. We're not God. We're not playing him on TV either. We're not God. We're not going to figure it out. And I'll tell you, it's a moot point to try and figure it out. It's a very big moot point. Very big moot. Very, very big moot point. Yeah, it's a moot point. You're never going to figure it out anyway. Right? You're never going to figure it out. So it's not even worth it. Why am I going through this? Why am I going through that? Could be for any number of reasons. You'll never figure it out. Yeah. A person can say, okay, God, this is the way you want it. I'm not questioning him. You say, I don't understand what you want. That's a different issue. That's a totally different issue. Yeah. But you got to be thankful what he's doing. 100%, you got to be thankful. And if you're not thankful, big problem. Got to be thankful for everything we do. Everything he does. But you have to be thankful. Right? So even if we question ourselves, we're not questioning God. It's a question on us. He's doing what he needs to do, bottom line. He's doing what he needs to do. What that has to do with us, that's a different issue. You're never going to understand why, so it doesn't really matter. It's not questioning him. We don't understand. We don't understand. Somebody asks, Abraham was God's friend and Moshe was his servant. I mean, they were both servants. I don't know if I would say that. Compare it that way. Not sure. See, that's the thing, is that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they didn't ask questions here. Moshe served him, true. They asked questions. Different level. I think it's a different level. Somebody asks, woman covering here, where did it come from? So the Gemara says, Sar Isha Erva. The Gemara says, I don't think it's based on the verse, but the Gemara says that the hair of a woman is licentious. So a woman, after she's married, has to cover her hair for everybody else, but not for her husband. Her husband can see her hair, right, when she's married. So essentially, hair can be something stabilizing. Yeah, could be. When you wear a wig, you could say, woman who wears a wig could be a fancy wig, this and that. Could be. Could very well be. But, any woman's going to try and attract somebody, and the wig moves. I don't think it's going to be so attractive. But that's where it's brought down. Brought down Tractate Brachot. I don't think it's based on the verse. If I remember correctly. So it says that a woman has to cover her hair because it's licentious. Has to cover when she's married. Yeah, men also have to cover their hair when they pray, or should cover their hair all the time, right? But that's a different issue. That they're showing fear of both. Women are not covering the hair for that. Totally different reason. Totally different reason. So the idea is, as we mentioned, the idea is that a person has to realize, that the roadblock, a lot of roadblocks. Anyone wants to convert, you're going to have roadblocks. Question is how you overcome them. Right? That's going to be the question. Which direction you're going. Now, some people, those roadblocks may kill them. Not literally, but may stop them in their tracks. Even though it's something they can overcome. Yeah, but they can be serious deterrents. Some people feel they're put in certain situations, because they're put in certain situations, they can't overcome them. In other words, they were put in a situation to fail, essentially. Right? That was the case. They're put in a certain situation to fail. Bottom line. So that's not true. God never puts a person in a situation they can't, they can't withstand. We may think we can't, but no one's ever put in that situation. Even if we think we can, even if we think it's impossible, nothing impossible. Gemara says even if there's a sword against your neck, God can have mercy. For sure, can have mercy. But a person has to realize life is not going to be simple. Life is very complex, right? And there are a lot of times we get stuck because of things we did, because of what God wants from us, whatever it is, makes it very hard. Makes us want to give up. That's what it does. That's essentially what it does. Now, what happens if the person gives up? Could be held against you. Does God want you to give up? No. He doesn't want you to give up. You're not making it easy. He's maybe squeezing you like the bottom of toothpaste, in a lot of ways. But, a person say, I come from the school of hard knocks. Okay. Now, did that shape who you are? Did that make you better? Make you stronger? Some people will say yes. Some people will say it was hard. They got broken. God doesn't want you to be broken. Does not want you to be broken. Life is no picnic. So a person has to, keep in mind, anyone who wants to convert, less than 20% finish the process. For a lot of different reasons, not the point. There are a lot of obstacles. Not everyone's going to be meant to convert. They want to convert, no matter how serious they are. But, like someone told me recently, whatever, I know the story, a former student on fixed income, took a long time to convert, to go cross country, like 10 times going cross country, in a minivan. But they did it. So one of the things they said was, people think it's about money. It's not about money. If it's important enough, people find the money. They'll find the money. They'll skimp on this, they'll skimp on that, right? Whatever it may be, they'll find the money. They're on fixed income. Totally fixed income. For years. You can say it was easy, they didn't have to pay rent, or a mortgage, or this. Okay. They had other expenses. It's not impossible. Definitely not impossible. Question how badly someone wants. But there are obstacles that are hard. There's no, there's no question. Right? Again, test does not mean you're rejected by God. Tests mean that, God's interested in you more than that. If he wasn't interested in you, then, he'd give you $1 million or billions of dollars and tell you to scram. Make life easier. Make life a lot easier. No question. Yeah. So it's not about feeling rejected. If we can feel an inadequacy in ourselves, because really, if we're doing the right thing, we should get all this reward and other things. Things should go in a totally different way. Yeah, maybe. That's not the way life works. It's the wrong way to look at it. Right? Life, if we believe in God, we do what he says and this and that, does not mean everything goes smooth. Does not mean that. Does not mean that at all. Yeah. So it's not a rejection. Right? Even if we don't do what God wants to the highest level that he wants and this and that. But let's say we did. You see by Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, you saw by Moses. You see by everybody, all great people. They don't have tests. They're not going in the right path at the highest level. They still have tests. Everybody has tests. Not a rejection. It's about us. About how we rise to the occasion or not. Right? That's the question. That's the question. Yeah. Let me see. Any other questions? Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop here. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com. And anyone wants to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, or BBI, ChaimCoffman@gmail.com, whichever good.